morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butonoff, coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Lots of things coming up on the show for you today. Jim Santel, our friend and colleague and host of Amicus, a law review, Saturdays, 9 to 11 across the network, is going to be joining us at 10:33, as he does every Thursday now, to talk about, there's a lot of things to talk about.
There's always a lot of things to talk about with Jim.
Yes, some legal things that the Trump administration is doing that raising some eyebrows.
No.
Oh, yes. So we will be talking to Jim Santel about that. Next hour, right after the 11 o'clock news, Derek Van Orden, Wisconsin's own, back in the news.
What did Pat call him last year? Professional. Oh, no, that was Eric Hovde, but still, it applies. Professional rake stepper.
Rake stepper, yep. That doesn't seem to have hurt him, though.
No, never.
Not so far.
No.
But, yeah, Derek Van Orden is back in the news, so we're going to give you a little update on his latest outburst and then do just a recap of his greatest hits. I think it's worth reminding Wisconsinites what kind of representatives we have.
Yeah.
Being the face of Wisconsin. So that will happen after the 11 o'clock news. We will lighten it up then with Brittany Merlot, Civic Media meteorologist, for a little weather and wine. Find out what's going to be coming our way. Nice weather is going to come.
You promise?
Sometime. Eventually. Sure. And then Paul Noonan will be here, the Acme Packing Company sports guru, to talk all things sports at 11:33. We'll wrap it up as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Take Me to Your Leader edition. You'll want to stick around for that. There's a visual element to today's Tisbat that's worth, it's going to be worth taking a look at.
Be prepared.
Yeah, it's ew. We wanted to start off, though, been bouncing around a lot. Kind of whiplash.
You mean kids running down the beach having a good time, Jade?
No, I'm talking about the Dow.
Oh.
Here is the headline from CNBC. Dow falls 1,000 points as tariff sell-off resumes after historic rally. Of course, the market crashed yesterday.
Like a series of days. Crash upon crash upon
crash. And then, of course, depending upon apparently which political party you belong to, either Trump blinked or he's a very stable genius.
He's playing 3D chess, man.
Right.
Whoa.
But again, there was a rally then after he announced 4 hours later that the majority of the tariffs will be on a hold for 90 days.
Everyone except China.
Except for China. And then still for 10% across the board.
Yeah.
So there was a big rally yesterday after these huge losses. And now, it's the stock market's down across the board.
1,000 points, the Dow is right now almost 953.19. I liked yesterday what people were saying. If you believe that he's a stable genius playing all the cards and the art of the deal, they were saying things like, how's your 401k now? It's like, well, the Dow like a month ago was at like 44,000. Mm-hmm. So not so good. And 1,000 up, fine. But now we've lost that.
Yeah.
So stop acting like you're all economists.
Well, and it's not even all of his. There's Fox News business people who are weighing in on this, who are not necessarily going along with the party line. Fox business correspondent Charlie Gasparino explained President Trump paused most of his tariffs on other countries because the bond markets specifically were imploding. Now, neither of us are economists, and we are going to find one who can explain all of this. But this is what Gasparino said on Fox News. I want to tell you right now that Donald Trump outsmarted the world. Trust me. I'm an American. I support my president. But that is not what happened here.
Yeah.
I'd love to say he outsmarted the world, but that is not what happened here.
Yeah.
What happened in the bond market overnight, the spike in yields on the 30-year and the 10-year bond, showed that people were dumping our bonds. And from what I understand, this is what forced the hand of this 90-day tariff reprieve.
From Blink Martindale? Sorry, that was my little joke.
Yeah, he blinked. It's the bond markets and the sort of lending markets. That's the plumbing of the economy. And those markets were imploding last night. And that's now why we have a 90-day freeze.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said before, we're going to find someone who can really explain this and lay it out in ways, in terms that we can all understand.
Exactly.
But I mean, this is what happens when you make huge announcements like this with no real reason. You want to impose tariffs? Fine. You want to mass deport? Fine. You want to do all these things? Fine. But take some time to do some studies. Take some time to find the information and then implement them over time. And the market will maybe react poorly, but it will adjust over time. But day after day of crash, and then you get one good day, and then everyone has not everyone, but the supporters of the nerd be like, well, look at it now.
Oh, yeah.
That's not how they work. Also, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I'd also like to check the portfolios of many members of Congress.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking both parties, by the by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Donald Trump said yesterday, now's a great time to buy.
On his Truth Social website, he talked about buying his own stock.
Yeah, now's a great time to buy my stock because the prices were crashing.
Yep.
And then 4 hours later, 90-day reprieve on these tariffs and the market rebounds. So as Steve from Milwaukee just texted in, Adam Schiff is investigating insider trading, short-term buys before Trump announced the delay in tariffs.
I saw in another story where they were writing about this from yesterday, and they said that Martha Stewart went to jail for less than this.
Far less.
Yeah. Right now, the Trump stock crashed to 19 points. It was at 50 at one. It's now at 19.
Now's a great time to buy.
I think to a certain point they knew what they were doing to make their buddies money, but like this is once again not 3D chess.
He was in the Oval Office this morning.
Yep.
Saying, my buddy over there made $2 million. My buddy over there yesterday made $3 million.
No. He said he made $2 billion.
Oh, I'm sorry,
$2 billion. 999. And I will find that video. We couldn't play the video here because it was just too.
The sound is not good.
But it will be in the show notes to show that he knew exactly what the outcome could be because he's not dumb there. But this was a fleecing of our stock market, and your 401ks are being held hostage.
Absolutely. Supporters of the president who spent over a week defending his tariffs plans only to suffer whiplash after the 180 he pulled yesterday, now ridiculed by a conservative columnist on MSNBC. This is a conservative, Matt Lewis, who is laughing off attempts to spin this pause of 90 days as a planned move demonstrating the president's brilliance. Here is what Lewis said, quote, Congress should be in charge of tariffs, and if they want to regain that power, this could be done more strategically and less capriciously. And that's what we saw. Trump's defenders want to say this is part of the art of the deal. This is actually the art of the panic attack.
Jennifer Rayner on the text line listening on WFHR, she said, they aren't playing chess, they are playing Monopoly.
With our money.
With our hard-earned money.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting days ahead.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult.
It is going to be difficult.
And
absolutely.
The sooner we all realize, and some of y'all come to the realization that you voted for him, whatever, that's in the past, but you are being lied to right now. And the sooner you realize that, as Will Westmoreland said to us weeks ago, the sooner you can admit and realize and admit that you have been lied to, the quicker we can work together, because this is our money that all of us have worked so hard for over the decade. Because none of us, Jane, are you a billionaire?
When I checked yesterday, that would be no.
Hey, Calvin Butenhoff, Cal B, a quick question for you. Are you a billionaire?
Not quite.
Yeah, so I don't think they're even in the room right now. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be the ones suffering the most through this. So.
Oh yeah, it's us little people.
Yep, it's always us little people.
The ultra wealthy, they're all going to be just fine.
They'll afford that six boat.
They still need a tax cut though. They still need a tax cut.
You are right. I am sorry.
Right?
I am sorry.
Apologize to the ultra wealthy. Very briefly before we go to the break, I found this from The Daily Show.
Yes.
And it's a little explainer. If you watch a particular network, you tend to get different news. as opposed to what's actually happening in the world. So, Calvin, let's play this clip from The Daily Show as they explain what's happening with the markets.
Yo, what's up, finance fam? A lot of volatility in the stock market this week, so I'm hopping on here to help people who only watch Fox News understand what's happening in the market. Let's get started. Real simple formula. When the stock market is down, Fox News only covers trans people playing sports. That's how you know we're bleeding red. I've looked at thousands of hours of this, and let me give you a tip. The more obscure the sport, the worse the market is doing. If they're covering a trans swimmer in the NCAA, normal market territory. No need to panic. But this week, we got a trans fencer at the Cherry Blossom Tournament in Maryland. A lot of Fox coverage on this, which means the Dow is down a full 4%. But just yesterday, they're covering a trans athlete playing disc golf. That's a pretty obscure sport. It's iPhone footage, there's frisbees, 7% market dip minimum. Doesn't stop there. The market's got worse. We got trans pool players, and not swimming pools, like pool table pools, like what you find in bars or at rich kids' basements. That means 9% dip. But wait, this was in the UK. This is an obscure sport not in America. We're down 12%. Can it get worse? Yes, the footage was from 6 months ago, so that's a minimum 15% dip, bear market territory. If you see Fox News covering a trans person kicking a hacky sack, the market is cratering, 20% dip. In France, 30% dip. The footage is from 2 years ago, full-blown depression. Stay smart out there, folks. Your boy Koss. Money, 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 money.
It's a great clip. We'll include that in the show notes if you would like to take a look.
God.
But yes, depending on which outlet you watch, you might be seeing things strangely covered a little bit differently.
Because when the stock market's crashing like that, what they do is for you, the viewer, they just take the information off the screen too.
Right. As opposed to if it were under Biden or any Democrat and this was happening with the stock market, that would be 24/7 on Fox News. We have a break coming up. When we return, some disturbing news about a former Milwaukee police officer. That's all on the way. Stay close. You are listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board, coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Milwaukee Day is going to be Monday, April 14th. They call it Milwaukee Day because of 414.
Clever.
April 14th. And there is a great deal up for grabs with our friend Dan Schaefer from the Recombobulation Area.
Absolutely.
Offering full year subscriptions to the Recombobulation Area for 41.4% off, honoring our city, Milwaukee. That's a $50 value for just $30.
That
it's
is
so worth it.
Yeah.
It really is.
They just won 6. If they had never won an award before, this past week, they would now be the multi-award winning Recombobulation Area because they won 6 additional. I think they're in the 20s now.
Yeah, they've won tons and tons of awards for their reporting. It's absolutely brilliantly done. Dan Schaefer, of course, our political media
Editor,
thank you. But it's definitely worth checking out. For $30 for a full year subscription, it is a great deal.
The work he puts in alone for when there's an election happening.
Oh, my God.
The research. Oh, good Lord. Yes. Get it.
Check it out. Yep. And the Recombobulation Area will be hosting a special happy hour event that's going to happen at Third Space Brewing in Milwaukee. Coming up in May for paid subscribers. Your first drink is on the house. You can join the Recombobulation Area, including a 4-pack of tickets to see the Brewers and more. They'll have other giveaways and stuff.
Nice.
So check it out. Recombobulation Area. Subscribe. Big deal on Monday. $30.
Boom.
Can't beat that. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to explore this. It is something we will look at more deeply in the future. But here's the headline from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Gay Venezuelan stylist sent to Salvadoran prison after a disgraced Milwaukee cops report. A former Milwaukee cop with credibility issues helped seal the fate of a gay Venezuelan makeup artist who was sent to an El Salvador prison. He claimed he was a member of this gang, but the credibility of this former officer, Charles Cross Jr., is so bad, prosecutors flagged him on a list of police who had been accused of lying, breaking the law, or acting in a way eroding their credibility to even testify in Milwaukee County. He got fired as a Milwaukee police sergeant in 2012. He did appeal it and then resigned in the process. Now he is working for Core Civic, an institution that runs many immigration detention centers in the U.S. He typed his name over the title investigator on the form, implicating Andre Jose Hernandez, this gay makeup artist from Venezuela, who has denied any connections to this gang. Cross, this former police officer, one of the private prison contractors who are helping to ID these members of this gang. A designation landing them in prison without due process.
Which is unconstitutional.
It is unconstitutional, and it should terrify all of us.
I just want to make it clear, too. Do you know how badly you have to screw up to get fired as a
police
policeman?
officer?
And I'm sure that paycheck, while being a Milwaukee police officer will make you a lot of money, especially with your overtime, contract player for a private prison company, I bet you that's not a bad paycheck either.
Yeah. Asked about this particular case, the Department of Homeland Security wouldn't offer any more details on the case or the process in general, but said they do use more than just tattoos, do they? To determine whether or not you're a member of this gang. I thought that's why they were pulling people off of the street.
If they're not using tattoos and there's other proof, I guess they're using vibes.
Are they know instinctually?
Instinctually.
They know
Like,
instinctually.
he must be a gang member. I just know it.
Also, no comment on the role that private contractors play in this process. That seems to be a conflict of interest for me. If you are going to be running essentially camps, Should you be the one who is determining whether or not these people should be pulled out and put into camps?
No, I think it should be an independent group. But then again, when did we start doing things by the book or with this, as a plan?
This man was one of more than 200 mostly Venezuelan migrants sent to this prison in El Salvador. The Justice Department contends that the president has the authority to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which was previously only used in times of declared war against other countries. The 30-year-old Hernandez fled Venezuela last year. He says he was persecuted as a gay man, one of the protected groups allowed to claim asylum under U.S. law.
Because we're using 18th century
Law.
policy here
Mm-hmm.
by a president who actually, honestly, a lot like Donald Trump. Paranoid.
Oh, Venezuela?
Thin-skinned.
Oh, yes.
No, John Adams. Seriously, like John Adams, like he wanted to get rid of his enemies. He didn't like people speaking against him or the country. He's just, thin-skinned, paranoid, absolute terrible presidents. And no wonder he wants to use that policy, use that law now. 18th century.
A few weeks after being reviewed by this former police officer, Hernandez was transferred to a detention center in Texas. And the last month he was flown to that prison in El Salvador. His lawyers have not heard from him since. This isn't even the case of the father who was deported, who the administration has admitted was mistakenly deported because of a clerical error. And now they're claiming, well, he's there. There's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our hands. You made the deal with El Salvador to take these people. And now you are saying that a person who was sent there by mistake, you can't do anything about it.
This is shameful.
Jim Santel, our friend and colleague and host of Amicus, a law review, going to be joining us after the 10:30 news. Stay close. You are listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time.
Good morning, Jim. How do things sound?
Things sound great on this end. How are you? How do things sound on your end? Are good?
Yep, you sound great as well. We come back in about 3 minutes.
Great. Thanks, Calvin. Good, good. Right here.
Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B on the board, coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. A couple things breaking as we come back on the air. The House has passed the budget plan for Donald Trump's agenda, including passing the SAVE Act, which we have talked about before, and which is essentially going to make it harder for people to vote, including married women. Deb Cronmiller from the League of Women Voters is going to be joining us next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And hopefully she can help clarify some questions. We've had some questions come into Jane Says at civicmedia.us. So join us on Tuesday for Deb Cronmiller from the League of Women Voters. And if you have any questions, please send them in to Jane Says at civicmedia.us. One quick market update also.
Yeah, people were talking about the market yesterday being so great because it rebounded from the disaster of the past few days. I just want to give a market update. When we came to air today,
35 minutes ago.
Not even 30 minutes ago, 29 minutes ago, the market had dropped 953 points. Currently, the market is now down 1,286 points.
Okay, nothing to see here. It's all fine.
But your 401k was cool yesterday. Woo!
Well, for a couple hours. Anyway, he joins us every Thursday at this time because we are not lawyers. We are only lawyer adjacent. Jim Santel is here from Amicus, a law review. I highly encourage you to listen to Jim's show Saturdays from 9 to 11 across the network. If you can't listen live, you can also go back and listen to it as a podcast. You can find it at civicmedia.us. Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
Jane, Greg, it's always great to be adjacent to you too. And yes, it is a good thing that most of us are not lawyers. And regrettably, you don't need to be today to be outraged, right, by the latest things that are going on.
There is so much to cover. I guess I would like to start with one plus, I guess. It's a small thing. But a federal judge did order the White House to restore the Associated Press access to the Oval Office. Now, essentially, Donald Trump had a snit because the Associated Press continues to refer to the Gulf of Mexico, which it is, as the Gulf of Mexico, not the Gulf of America. And so they denied them access to press briefings.
And Jane and Greg, I warn you, apparently on behalf of the White House, because if you continue that kind of crazy talk, you too will have your White House credentials revoked. I know for Greg, that's an especially significant thing.
Absolutely.
We have our tongues planted firmly in our cheek, but this is serious matter. Again, how many times do we have to talk, Mr. President, about the Constitution of the United States of America? It's basic First Amendment stuff. I used to say it's things that juniors in high school know. It's sixth graders, fifth graders know this, that we have a free press. And part of that is access to news in America, access to the single most significant leader on the face of the planet. The things that he does are newsworthy, and you cannot simply prevent that news coverage from happening. And I am not surprised, but I am thrilled nonetheless to see that a judge has said, once again, Mr. President, you cannot do this. It will be appealed once again, and we'll go down that process as well. We hope that it will not reach once again the roadblock of the United States Supreme Court, which we have seen a lot in recent days.
Yes,
and
we have.
Holding a lot with what the president is doing. But today is a reason to celebrate free speech, assembly, First Amendment stuff, James Madison things. And this is hopefully the doors are back open to the AP, and we can once again refer to bodies of water as they are known in America and around the world.
Yeah, pretty much around the world.
Right.
Well, and this is just another example, Jim, of judges stepping up and doing
Yes.
the work of what the elected officials are supposed to be doing, which is protecting the Constitution. And I have to imagine that at the very worst, the worst version is they would uphold suppressing our free media. But I feel like the Supreme Court, if anything, if this made it up to the Supreme Court, but in this world, you can imagine, at the very least, they just wouldn't hear it because it just almost seems beneath them. They say, go with the appellate courts. That's done. We're not talking about that, as if to say, this is even worth our time. I know there's a version we can all imagine where they do take it up, but it's still, I mean, this seems like a battle they wouldn't even wade into.
Because there's so many other things that again, no less significant than this, but they've got an awful lot on their docket. They've got 64 cases altogether. And now it seems on a daily basis, maybe every other day, they're entertaining these motions again for emergency petitions. You would hope, Greg, that on this one, they would say, yes, indeed. This is one we're not taking up. We're going to affirm the lower court simply by not doing anything, which is all they've got to do. All they've got to do. And your other point, implicit in what you just said, need to reaffirm this, as we seem to do, Greg and Jane, every Thursday. The bastions, the guardrails, once again, in America, federal district court judges. Thank goodness. And again, these are our nominees and confirmands from both Republican and Democratic presidents across the board saying, no, Mr. President, the guardrails are holding right now.
So far.
And we hope that's the case. I'd like to think there's some grand juries out there that are meeting and also saying no to this president. But at least we know publicly that so far, the guardrails and this area are holding. It's unfortunate we have to run into court to get affirmations on the things that we trusted to be the case for 238 years.
Yep.
When is this going to stop?
Yeah, not soon enough. And if you're just joining us, just to reiterate what we're talking about, Jim Santel is our guest, and we're talking about a court decision that the White House cannot not allow the Associated Press into press briefings just because they don't call it the Gulf of whatever. Um, what is the enforcement mechanism, though, Jim? What if so? This, in the interim, and I'm an Associated Press reporter, and I go to the next White House briefing, and some big burly guy says no. What enforcement mechanisms are there?
Right. Then that is exactly the time that regrettably, once again, it's the lawyers who are the secondary bastion, right? That reporter's got to get on the phone right away and get to the AP lawyers to say, run back into court and tell that judge that the White House, the big burly guy, whoever that is at the White House press briefing, is in contempt of your order, judge. And that's the next procedural mechanism that has to happen. We're seeing that already, obviously, with respect to the Venezuelan migrants. You go back in and say, judge, here is what happened, right? Here's the affidavit from my reporter, and being denied exactly what you ordered. Find the White House, find the press secretary in contempt, direct that they appear in your court if there's some need to do so. And once again, here's your civics as we always do it. If there's a finding of contempt, what kinds of things can you do? You can fine, meaning impose monetary penalties. Yes, indeed. Federal judges can incarcerate someone if in fact the contempt is in their presence, which presumably this would be, and it is of this nature. There's some serious remedies here. The difficulty, of course, is finding, maybe it is the big burly guy standing there at the door, but maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's the press secretary. And at a minimum, again, fighting back and saying, no, I'm standing here until the judge enters an emergency order that lets me in.
We have a lot to cover with Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review every Saturday from 9 to 11 across the network. This is from Politico. Trump orders investigation of 2 first-term administration aides who criticized him. He's going after Chris Krebs. His big sin was saying out loud that the 2020 election was not stolen. And that is his crime, from what I can tell.
I think that's exactly it. And he probably at some point referred to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of Mexico. That would only exacerbate the problem here. Both of these people, again, exercising First Amendment rights and expressing their views. They're not incendiary. They're not advocating for the overthrow of the government. They're expressing their views, as we do on this broadcast every single day, as others do. Americans have this right to do it. And here's the takeaway lesson, that everybody, regardless whether you are a present, former employee of any government anywhere, we've said this before, Jane and Greg, I'll say it once again, the investigation itself is the punishment. This is a complete break. Here's the clear illustration here of this president breaking tradition with every other president, including his own first term to some extent, and reaching out and saying, Pam Bondi, open criminal investigations of people. That has never been the tradition. Again, 238 years, that arm's length relationship, it is now clearly breached with a capital B. You should be horrified by that. Everybody, every one of your listeners, I'm sure they are, because if the president can pick up the phone and tell the attorney general, the deputy, a United States attorney in eastern or western Wisconsin, in northern Illinois, I want Jane Matenaer, I want Greg Bach to be investigated. And the answer is, yes, sir, I'm opening the investigation. That can happen to anyone whose voice is out there. That's the concern. And again, what you need to, why is this the punishment? Because then you're going to hire lawyers, right, to defend you. And when there's a request for information from you, if there are grand jury subpoenas, bank documents, all kinds of things, it is hugely burdensome. And it is built upon nothing. It is a violation, frankly, it's a violation of the oath of office that lawyers take, Department of Justice lawyers take, not to pursue an investigation absent some scintilla of something, but it imposes this incredible burden upon whoever the target is. This is his retribution again, and everyone should be incredibly concerned about these 2 to begin with. They will get lawyers. They will incur additional expense and additional burdens, but everyone now who could be out there to be the target of the retribution. That's what this presidency is all about as of today and as of the last 80 days in office.
And just by saying something that Donald Trump doesn't like.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what we're talking about.
This also sounds like a federally funded slap suit, is what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. We, as you were just saying, Jane, Greg, we don't like what you're saying, and we are going to run into court. We anticipate that again, this may be going nowhere. Again, I like to think that there's no grand jury out there that's going to indict either one of these, finding probable cause to believe a crime has been committed. No, there's none. 23 people in America and all these grand juries, they're not going to return indictments here, but an investigation that goes on. It's exactly what a slap lawsuit is. It is the burden imposed upon you. It is prevent you from doing other things in your lives, including productively engage in business with families, with other pursuits in life. That is the punishment. And we are going down that road more and more. Colleges, law firms, and to anybody who says something afoul from the president's viewpoint, we'll go after you. And I've got a direct line to Pam Bondi. She's right down the street there, and I'm going to sick her on you.
We're talking about Chris Krebs and Miles Taylor. Thank you, Steve, from Milwaukee, for including that. These are the two people that now Donald Trump is sicking his Justice Department on, essentially, because they said things that he did not like. And you're right, Jim. This is all about instilling fear in people. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get investigated. I can't afford high-priced lawyers. That's going to bankrupt me, right?
Right.
It is to scare people from saying what they think out loud.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing that I'm hesitant to say on the air, but I've made the offer in other places, and I've got friends and colleagues who've done the same thing. The financial impact that you just identified, Jane, is huge, right? If you hire any one of these law firms, big law, medium law, individual practitioners, it's a lot of money to defend against this. Money you should be going to other more productive things. The other thing that the lawyers in America need to do, not only to push back on these attempts to stop law firms, but we need to come forward and we need to say, you know what, I will take on the former employee of what you name the agency, and I will represent you. I can only do one at a time, probably ethically, but everybody's got to come forward and say, I will do that pro bono, and I will push back on all this so that it does not at least wreck you financially to the point that you no longer have a house, no longer have a car, and lawyers need to do that. That's what lawyers should do as a part of pushing back on all of this.
We're going to continue our conversation with Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review. Stay with us. You are listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back. morning and welcome back to a classier Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer,
Bouncy.
Greg Bach, and Sweet Calby on the board, coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. If you like news and you like news that is happening in your community, sign up for the Civic Media Digest. It's free. You can subscribe. You can get top podcast hours of your favorite shows. Also, news and commentary from our really, really hardworking Civic Media news team. And find out what's going around the entire state and right in your own neighborhood, because they curate news depending upon where you are in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
It's pretty great.
Wonderful.
So check it out at civicmedia.us/email. Right now, we are joined by our friend and colleague Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review every Saturday morning from 9 until 11 o'clock. I highly encourage you to check it out. You will learn a great deal. Jim, I wanted to talk about this in some of the time that we have left. This is from NBC. In about half of U.S. states, international students' visas are being revoked. And we talked about this yesterday. This has happened to at least 22 students in Wisconsin that we know of so far. And they are just all of a sudden they're living their lives and they're going to school and they're doing whatever. And all of a sudden you get a notice saying your visa has been terminated. You have to leave now.
It is, again, a stunning way of, again, it's retribution once again, right? It's going after people that we do not like for all sorts of inappropriate reasons. And while there is an argument here that, yes, indeed, visas and the affording of them is within the State Department authority, once again, what these folks should do, again, in reliance upon the conference of a right to be here for a purpose to stay in the United States, they relied upon that, as you just said, Jane, for their lives, their schooling, their families, all kinds of things. And unilaterally, again, let's use the DP word, due process is absent here. And so this is another situation where if you have one of these, a lawyer should step up to the plate and say, let's go into court and push back on this. You may or may not be successful. There's an awful lot of discretionary aspect of granting visas there. But if indeed the government cannot come up with some credible reason why you yourself have violated the terms and conditions of your stay in America, then a judge, as we're seeing, as we talked about before, should say, no, the government needs to prove more. You know, we've seen these, obviously, the apprehension. The tough student is perhaps the most notable. Plucked off the street by masked, arguably, I suppose, they're federal officers.
But we don't know that.
Right, we don't know that, right? Transported. What America are we living in? For that reason alone, for the future deterrence against our government now, we need to push back on this. When I was working with the sick population in Oak Creek, we had a huge number of folks who needed to secure various means of staying in America. We did that by identifying a basis for them to be here. That's what they need to push back on now. It is, again, just the beginning. As you said, I think we have numbers in the 20s now, Jane, as you indicated. It will only increase because, and especially with the completely inappropriate justification. I remember Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, saying, if you come here to study and you say things and you do things that we don't like in terms of articulating views, which again, protected by the Constitution, that's a breach of the contract, so we're going to get rid of you. That's what our Secretary of State said recently in connection with a tough student. They will say the same things without any merit to them going ahead. We need to call upon them to justify that before judges, before these people should be thrown out summarily of our nation.
That's the thing too, is we mentioned this yesterday or 2 days ago when we covered this, is the fact that we get from the right all the time. Well, if you just came here legally, if you just played by the rules, if you just, they're doing everything they were asked to. They filled out all the forms, paid all the monies, and they're coming here to better their lives through our educational system, and they're still being thrown out. Seems like you're moving the goal lines back once again. And also, just to reiterate, Jim, even though they are not citizens, they're here in this country, they have certain protected rights.
Let's say it once again, shout it from the rooftops, those people who say that if you're not a citizen, the Constitution doesn't protect you. That is wrong as a matter of law for 238 years. And everyone who is geographically here, again, including those now former Venezuelan immigrants who are now sitting in a prison in El Salvador, they had a right to due process under our Constitution. The Supreme Court effectively said that 2 days ago, even when it authorized the government to go ahead with that. Everybody who is here, whatever your purpose, whatever your reason is for being here, you are protected by the thing that James Madison wrote and that all our states adopted. It's called the Constitution, Mr. President.
And it's called due process, and that applies to everyone. And isn't due process part of what makes America America?
Absolutely. And again, in all of these things, we're seeing it every single day. It is being affirmed, Jane, every single day by judges, not summarily responding in a knee-jerk reaction, but having hearings. Judge Boasberg, again, we talked about him before. He is perhaps at the top of the list. How many hearings, how many briefs, how many things has he reviewed to get it right? That's what we do in America. We get to the facts, we invoke the law, we let people argue in court. That adversarial process, that's what it's all about. We do not summarily do these things that, again, our Secretary of State is doing, our Secretary of Defense is doing, my president is doing too. It is a difficult time in America, undeniably.
Check out Jim Santel's show. It's fantastic. Saturdays from 9 to 11 across the network. Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review. Thank you so much, Jim. We will talk to you next week.
Jane, Greg, always a pleasure. We'll see you then. Take care.
See ya.
Stay with us. News is next, and then we're going to talk about Derek Van Orden's greatest hits. That's all on the way. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butonoff coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We have Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot coming up in just a little bit with a little weather and wine. Going to talk about what is coming our way. I think we have a couple more days of ugh. And then it's going to get nice.
Shell's going to talk about tornadoes as well.
Important stuff.
Yes.
Important stuff. Paul Noonan, the Acme Packing Company sports guru. Paul Noonan joining us after 11:30 to talk all things sports. Brewers with a big win yesterday.
I feel like that 17-2 should count as like 4 wins they can bank.
That would be nice.
Just spread those runs over the season. Yeah, sprinkle them.
That seems fair. And then we'll wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Take Me to Your Leader edition. It's a good one. Yeah. There's a visual element you're going to want to check out once the show notes get posted after the show. But Tisbat coming up around 11:51. You are going to be on stage tonight.
Fake news. Are you serious?
You are.
Yeah.
You're going to be in Brookfield.
I will be at the Milwaukee Improv in Brookfield, Wisconsin. I know.
Okay.
It's a weird comedy club thing. But yes, so tonight, one show only, Thursday, tonight. Yeah, today's Thursday, at the Milwaukee Improv in Brookfield on Blue Mount in the Corners.
I've been there.
I will be performing. I'll be featuring, which is also known as middling, which means there'll be a host most likely, then me, and then Chappell Lacey, who is the headliner. So come on down. I will say this. There is a 2-item minimum. So if you do come,
you got to buy something.
You got to buy something. There will be a ticket price, but you got to buy a drink or two or a food item or two. But yeah, I'm very excited. They contacted me like 3 days ago.
That's awesome.
I know. I'm very excited. I've never performed there. I've never had the opportunity. So this is... I'm like, we're doing the show, but in the back of my head, I'm like, don't be not funny, Greg. Be funny, Greg. So
you're going to be great.
Thank you very much.
You will be great.
If you're around, come on down. I'd love to high five you and be friends.
Absolutely. Go check out Greg tonight on stage at the Milwaukee Comedy Club in Brookfield.
Milwaukee Improv. There it is.
In Brookfield.
Yeah.
Okay. We can include that in the show notes, too. We'll have a link for that if you want to pick up tickets. So we'll drop that in there as well. Wanted to spend a little time. He is back in the news.
Ooh.
Wisconsin's own Derek Van Orden from the western part of Wisconsin. And this is courtesy of Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio.
Yeah.
Derek Van Orden screams at a witness while defending cuts to food aid. Nationally known for his angry outburst, the Wisconsin congressman angrily attacked critics of the House GOP budget plan to slash $230 billion in USDA programs. I believe we have a clip from the always calm, always even-tempered Derek Van Orden. Calvin, can we play that clip, please?
Hey, I want to clear the air, and I'm going to dispel some things.
Okay.
If you're receiving benefits from the federal government lawfully as an American citizen, your benefits are not going to be reduced by a nickel. Okay, I'm going to say it again. If you're an American citizen that is lawfully receiving benefits from the federal government, your benefits will not be reduced by a nickel. Write that down. Things have changed.
I'm going to write that down.
I'm writing
And
it
the
down
same
right now.
people that told you during the last budgetary cycle that Republicans are going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, WIC, SNAP, they lied to you. They lied openly to the American public. They're the same people that lied to you and are fear-mongering with hungry children and those most in need in our country. And it's unacceptable and it's despicable. This should be a nonpartisan committee. They're lying. Over it. Stop it. You're wrong. My Democrat colleagues, there's billions and billions and billions of dollars in fraud with these programs. Refining a program does not say getting rid of the program. It's refining it. Dr. Schazenbach, you said that work requirements are really good at getting people off of SNAP. What's the purpose of SNAP? To be on SNAP forever?
No, but we want people to leave SNAP
Okay,
because their
so hold on.
earnings go up.
Hey, doctor,
Let her finish her.
how many years did you go to school?
Wait
A
for
lot.
it.
Like how many?
At 17.
Okay, so I dropped out of high school as a sophomore. The advantage of being a high school dropout is what you don't have. Like, you don't get it.
Wait for
the
it.
metric of success are people who are working. Are you familiar with
But they're not working.
Are
But
you
it's
familiar?
dropping off of-
Don't interrupt me. And what you're talking about is perpetuating the cycle of poverty. And you're trying to enslave Americans and keep them repressed. And that is below the dignity of your station, man. I yield back.
Below the. Oh, yes. Please, Derek Van Orden, school me on dignity.
Yeah.
Please. I want to take a class from you.
There is so much in there you can take apart. I think it's tied between him telling a doctor of she is an educated human being, giving her expertise on this situation. You don't know anything because I dropped out of high school. And by the way, in that video, in the earlier part of the video, he talked about being poor and being on government cheese and using all those terminologies. And which is fine. Pat makes the claim that he was the same person too. He grew up poor to a single mother
mom.
and had to go through the same thing as well. That doesn't make you smarter. You have different levels of experience. And also, when you interrupt her, when she's trying to talk to you, answering the question you asked, and then you have the nerve to say, don't interrupt me when she is trying to speak as well. Derek Van Orden does not even, he doesn't belong in the Congress. He doesn't belong as a dog catcher in this state. He is despicable and disgusting.
I think he has anger management issues.
He loves to dress down people and yell at people, but not in, and this was actually the most I've seen him get, like, but he gets aggressive, he gets pointed, and I'm sorry to say it, and I'll say it right here, he generally does it towards women.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got a whole list.
Yeah.
I've got a whole list of Derek Van Orden's greatest hits where he's done this before. He loves to attack people weaker and smaller than he is.
Yes. He is a high school dropout. PJ on the live stream. He's a high school dropout. He went. He got his GED from what I understand, and he went back to college, graduated from an online college, and he spent 26 years in the military, which gives him also an experience that I would never try to say doesn't count.
855-752-4842 if you would like to join the conversation. Gene from Eau Claire is on the line. Good morning, Gene. What do you want to say about DVO?
Holy moly, can't believe it. Well, yeah, I do believe it. I knew that he was a little off, but now we know that he's way off. You know, the people that are in that Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, this guy, they're all, they should not even be allowed on the Capitol steps. This is just hair-raising. I just can't believe it. And this guy is running down people who have studied for years and years trying to make our country better and things better for people. Thank you very much, guys. Keep it up. Keep letting the people know and play his voice, the words coming out of his mouth, because that's what he said, and he can't deny it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Gene.
As always,
thank you so
wonderful.
much, Gene.
We do have more of his voice.
We actually do. This is from
last year. He's speaking to a reporter who is just, doing their job,
asking
him questions on the budget. And of course, that's too much for old DVO here. And he's got to just become the biggest, meanest monster on the steps. Calvin, can you play that clip as well?
Over the recess, are you concerned about the budget process?
Okay, maybe you don't understand how Congress works. So we don't do the budget process on the floor. You do that in committee hearings. The committees are all here. The staffs are all here. That's how Congress actually works. And I understand what you're getting at, and I don't appreciate it. I've answered your question. Do you have anything else that actually means something?
Let's just insult people.
Yeah, that's
it's just easier. It's just just insult people.
That's how it works. I'm sure that's what people who voted for him realize they're getting from him, is just a man who has a lot of issues inside and doesn't know how to deal with them. So he just takes it on those who are, living their lives around him.
She's doing her job.
Yep.
She's asking a question, which may not be a question that you like, but she is still doing her job as a reporter. Last time I checked, I didn't think a reporter's job was to just throw softballs.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, again, This is not, Derek Van Orden has a long history of this kind of behavior.
Yes.
Going back to when he blew up at this teenage library worker
Yep.
in his district over a display of LGBTQ books.
Mm-hmm.
She's a teenager.
Yep.
And then there were more teenagers that he went after, Senate pages.
Yep, they were doing a thing where they, I think the end of their run, they'll go there, they'll go into the hallways, they'll lay on the floor, and they'll take pictures of the ceiling, which are ornate and beautiful. It's a tradition.
It's a tradition.
This is not disrespectful. This is accepted. And he, and some will say, was not exactly the soberest, comes out of his office and decides to start yelling at them.
Cursing
at them. This is a man who, and I'm saying this as another man. He's a man who needs some help. He needs to talk to somebody because this is getting out of hand. He is embarrassing himself, his district, Wisconsin, and when people see this stuff on the internet, this country, because that's who represents us.
And don't forget, at the RNC, he accused this young woman of assaulting him.
Oh, my God, yes.
Standing in line, and there's video of this as well. That went nowhere. There were no charges filed against this woman. She did not assault him.
No.
And by the way, she is a munchkin.
Yeah,
compared to the manly man, Derek Van Orden.
Derek Van Orden is never more at home and when he's playing the disgruntled victim. That's where he eats, lives, and breathes. Disgruntled victim. I did all this. You better respect me, but I will never give you the respect back, no matter how much you deserve it.
Well, he's going to be up for re-election next year.
And from what I understand, Rebecca Cook already has $1 million in her bank.
That's something to keep in mind,
Yep.
my friends. When we return, we're going to lighten things up for the rest of the show. Brittany Merlot will be here with weather and wine, and then we'll talk sports with Paul Noonan from the Acme Packing Company. Stay with us. You are listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, resident young person Calvin on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. After the 11:30 news, Acme Packing Company sports guru Paul Noonan will be here to talk all things sports, including that huge win for the Brewers yesterday, 17-2. Right now, though, she joins us every Thursday at this time for a little weather and wine. Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Good morning, Brittany. How's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
We're good. We're good. It's a little gray and spitty here in the Racine area. It's not raining hard. It's just kind of, it's misty and kind of annoying. And it's not going to be terribly warm today, but better things are to come, right?
They are. I'd say today is the definition of dreary, and we're going to get through it. It's almost over, right? We're halfway through it.
Right.
We've got plenty of sunshine on the way. So what's happening is a high pressure system is going to clear all this clouds cover out of here overnight tonight, and we're going to be waking up to abundant sunshine tomorrow, and it's going to stay here for Saturday. And the further south you live, you're going to hang on to it for Sunday. But the further north, you've got some rain rolling in.
Rain, but not snow.
Correct. At the moment. However,
at the moment.
does
give it 10
up,
minutes.
Up north, yeah, that rain on Monday night may potentially flip over to a little bit of light snowfall Tuesday night into far northwoods. But of course, Hurley could get smacked with another 6 inches of snowfall.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this shouldn't be a surprise. It's only April. We've had snow in May in Wisconsin. It's rare, but it has happened. So I guess this shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But we're all ready. I think we're all ready for a little warm up. And it is going to warm up this weekend.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be really nice, actually. We'll already be into those mid-50s for tomorrow, tapping the low 60s on Saturday, and then some mid-60s on Sunday. And we're going to hold the heat on Monday, too. Now, heads up, we do fall a little bit Tuesday, Wednesday, but we're going to rebound back to those spring temperatures, and the weekend actually looks really nice too. And I see some 70s as we cruise into the following week as well. So get excited. Yeah.
When we were talking about what's going on this tonight with the comedy stuff, Rob from Tigerton also came in on the live stream saying, tonight I'm taking a storm spotters training class tonight at 7 p.m. from the Green Bay National Weather Service online. This is my 3rd year taking the class, and storm spotters are very important during the weather events for reporting storm damage, getting rain and snow amounts. Their eyes on the ground in reporting weather in their locations. So
sure
that's really an important element, though, isn't it, Brittany? And especially when we're talking about NOAA receiving all of these kinds of cuts.
Yep.
We can use more storm spotters.
Mm-hmm.
The more help, the better. Please, please, please. There is a class tonight, and it's online. Okay, so anyone can do this across the state. You can join tonight, and there's another one on Monday too. And of course, there's more throughout the next month or so locally as well. But those two are online. If you go to National Weather Service Green Bay, you can sign up right there and get all registered for that. But it's pretty cool. I mean, you're going to learn about severe thunderstorms. You're going to know the difference between a funnel cloud and an actual tornado. You're going to really dive in deep and learn the science behind it and nerd out, which is the cool part. So if you like to go outside and watch the storms roll through, I highly, highly suggest this for you. It's fun to do.
What are some of the other responsibilities as far as being a storm spotter, Brittany? Is it keeping track of like rain amounts and things like that?
Yeah, so there's different programs. This one that's going on tonight will be more for severe weather storm spotting and stuff. But I mean, we are measuring how much rain is coming through, how fast it's coming down, how much snow you're getting. I mean, there's even people who take temperatures daily and even precipitation daily and put reports in to this database, which is so, so, so helpful.
If my mother were still alive, she would absolutely do this because she used to write down the weather every day.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
That was so cute. It was so cute. I was talking about severe weather, though. Is Tornado Awareness Week?
Yes. So this week is Severe Weather Awareness Week across the state. I mean, tornado season is April through August. So we're already entering it. Yep. Last year, we had tons of tornadoes. We doubled our average. We usually have about 23 tornadoes in the state each year. We had 40, more than 40, and about 22 of those were on 1 month, the month of May. So
wow.
Let's get ready, you guys. It's right around the corner, right when we start to get those nicer temperatures and those cold fronts come through. the severe weather sparks up. So the sirens will sound today at 1:45 and 6:45, and it's a time to just practice your plan. Actually do it. I know it might sound stupid or feel weird, but muscle memory. I'm telling you, when you're in an emergency, your brain goes crazy. You're running around in circles. You don't know what to do next. Plan it. Do it now. Have that muscle memory going, and also get an emergency bag together too. You're going to want extra shoes. You're probably not going to have them on if you're running into the basement or wherever you're going in an emergency. So shoes, clothes, medicine, snacks, water, put it all in a bag so you can just grab the bag or leave the bag in your safe space.
I was going to say, yeah, leave it in the
Leave
basement.
it in the
just-
basement.
yeah.
Yep, that sounds like a really good idea. And I would think, especially if you have children, this is really a really important annual review of what to do if your house gets hit by a tornado.
Oh, and it's just so, I've got the chills right now. I've just seen too much destruction and devastation across our state. And, you know, it's killed people in our state as well. And it's just giving me the chills. So just be ready, be prepared. I don't care how stupid you feel today. Do it.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Planning ahead is always better. And as you said, Brittany, when you're panicking like that and we don't necessarily have all that much time to get into the basement and collect all that stuff, just put your bag together today, like you said, and make sure you include, you know, a bowl for the dog or the cat and the dog and the cat food, along with some of your meds and other things like that. And also, if you can get one of those crank up radios.
Ooh,
I used to have one of those. I love those.
It's a good way to work on your arm strength as well.
Gonna get jacked.
Right. Brittany Merlot is Civic Media meteorologist. She joins us every Thursday for a little weather and wine. Thank you so much, Brittany. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Stay with us. News is coming up next when we return. Paul Noonan from the Acme Packing Company will be here, and we're going to wrap it all up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Take Me to Your Leader edition on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Walk in the sun once more, don't know why. Mama won't bake no apple pie. Starvation since I lost my patience. Keeps raining all the time. The time.
Hey, Paul, can you hear me all right?
Yep, I got you fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound good. We come back in about 3 minutes.
Sounds good.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and the Board Lord coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We got baseball action tonight, or this afternoon, actually. The Brewers at the Rockies. Our broadcast starts today at 1:35. You cannot listen on the stream. You have to listen to the radio. You can catch the game today on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN here in Racine and Kenosha, WCQM in Park Falls, and a shout out to WBZH in Hayward, our newest Brewers affiliate. Brewers today against the Rockies. Our broadcast starts at 1:35. We're going to segue right into our guest.
Boom.
The Acme Packing Company sports guru, Paul Noonan, is here. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, good morning.
17-2. I had to look at that 4 times.
I went to bed when it was 10-2 and woke up this morning to find that it's actually it's an insane score for a lot of reasons. It is the Rockies. They are probably the worst team in baseball, just to give context to how bad they are. You might remember last season, the Chicago White Sox finished as no worse than the second worst team in Major League Baseball history. By all the projection systems that project baseball records for this season, the Rockies are projected to finish 8 games worse than the White Sox are this year. They have basically no pitching, no stars of any kind, no depth of any kind. And more than anything, playing in Colorado is difficult. With the thin air up there, it's actually tricky to develop your pitchers so that they can be successful when they go on the road and at home, your hitters too. They have one of the worst analytics front offices. They've done basically no work in developing the proper way to play in Colorado. So putting 17 up on them, not that surprising. They have 2 wins on the year so far. It's helped even out the Brewers' sort of run scored, run allowed differential, because they got thumped by the Yankees the first couple games of the season.
Yes,
they're pretty much back to even now. So baseball, it all evens out over time if you let it go on long enough.
So because the Rockies are so bad, it would have been much worse if it had only been like a 3-2 game, right?
Yeah, I mean, a win's a win, but it's nice to actually show that you can thump teams that you're supposed to thump. It's nice to win. It's better to win in such a way that says, man, maybe you're not such a pretender that you looked like early on.
Well, and that's what I mean, anyone who's Midwestern knows that the Brewers are probably going to try to spend the rest of April showing the rest of the baseball world that first weekend was a fluke. We're good.
We're better than that.
But I'm surprised you went to bed at 10-2, because as a Brewers fan, I'm still like, how do we blow this? How do we blow this?
I trust their bullpen enough to get that.
Yeah,
done. I don't trust a lot about the Brewers right now. There's some fakery in there. Their starting pitching is all hurt, but the one thing I trust is their bullpen. Their bullpen is still nails.
Yeah. All right. I also suggested the idea, and Jane's not along with this. She doesn't like my idea here, is that we take those 17 runs, we can bank them and sprinkle them over other games throughout the season.
Somehow that doesn't seem legal.
Hey, if the Houston Astros can cheat their way to a World Series, we can sprinkle runs.
Sprinkle our wins.
Yeah.
If only.
But as you said, Paul, all the pitchers are hurt. Everybody's hurt.
Everybody's hurt. The Brewers did make a trade to address that. Hopefully, they traded away quite a lot, actually, to acquire Quinn Priester, who is starting today. And he is a former first-round pick. He's only 24 years old. They clearly see something in him. And the Brewers pitching lab is phenomenal at picking out little things about guys that they can develop that nobody else sees. And I hope they have that here. But I am a little skeptical about Priester starting his first game for this team in Colorado, because his biggest problem so far is that his fastball has been very hittable. It is difficult to survive on breaking stuff in Colorado. It doesn't break. That's part of the thin air. And if I had to make a prediction on how this is going to go, not great would be my prediction. I was hoping they could hold him back for one more series. I think they go to Arizona next, which isn't that much better than Colorado. But I would say, if Quinn Priester gets absolutely destroyed today, don't write him off immediately. He may be better with a couple of weeks in the lab and being back to sea level. They're desperate for pitching. They're TBD tomorrow. They're starting Chad Patrick 2 days from now. they just need guys at this point, and this is not a good scenario for a young guy in his first start for a new team. So,
Catherine from Madison has a question on the text line. Why does thin air matter?
It is a good question, and the reason is all about friction. When you throw any pitch actually two reasons, but pitching wise, if you throw any pitch that you spin, that you have vertical or horizontal movement on, it actually moves because of that spin interacting with the density of air. And so curveballs will curve more at sea level or in humid environments than they will up in the mountains. Fastballs that move horizontally, a lot of people have really have like cut fastballs and sinkers that dive down. Those go straight in Colorado where they move at sea level. So they're much easier to pick up on and hit. That's one of the reasons Colorado is such an offensive environment. The other one, though, is that hits travel further because they don't encounter as much air resistance when you get a ball up in the air in Colorado. It actually goes quite a bit further. We saw Christian Yelich hit, I think, a 446-foot home run last night. That's amazing, but it's less amazing in Colorado where there's just less getting in the way of the ball, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes.
And really quick, you sent this to me after your topics. You said that Bryce Terang is working with new stances in the batter's box, which is interesting. I would think that Bryce, who's a good player, would stick to what he's got, but he's trying new things.
He is. So one thing, we track everything in baseball.
You do. You really do. When you sent this to me, I was like, what?
One of the things we track now is how much people change their batting stance from year to year. A journalist named Mike Petrello did a big analysis of the people who've changed their batting stance the most. The person who changed it the third most is Bryce Terang from last year. He went from having a very open stance to a very closed stance. Just quickly what that means. Open stance, you're facing the pitcher more. Closed stance, you're facing the plate more. And typically open stance is better for contact. Closed stance is better for power. And last season, Bryce Terang was in the second %2 of bat speed, of exit velocity. He's up a ton. It's still not great. He's up to 15%, which is not a big power guy, but Terang is an outstanding contact hitter. He almost never swings and misses, especially in the zone. And adding even a little power to that has made a huge difference for him putting the ball into play with a lot more power, him hitting these massive home runs every once in a while. And with Terang's speed, his athleticism, his defense, if he can hit like 15 to 20 home runs a year, he's like an MVP caliber player. These little tweaks, we'll see if it holds for the whole season, but it could be a huge difference maker for the team if it actually holds up. And his underlying metrics so far look like they will hold up. It's not a lot of fake stuff with Terang. He actually is. He's hitting the ball pretty hard.
If you're just joining us, Paul Noonan is our guest talking all things sports from the Acme Packing Company. Let's move on to the Packers. Paul, you mentioned that last time you joined us, Calvin mentioned he was interested in receiver Emeka Egbuka.
Emeka Egbuka, who is an Ohio State receiver. I was
not even close, but continue.
Yep. Calvin doing a very good scouting job, by the way, because the Packers had him in for a rare 2-day visit. Visits don't always matter in the pre-draft because, with higher level guys, the Packers will often sign undrafted free agents and like 7th round picks on guys they have in. You can kind of bank on that. But to have a guy in for a 2-day visit means they're probably very, very interested, and he is very likely to be there when their first round pick comes up, and possibly when their second round pick comes up too. He is like a great fit for the offense in that he is super versatile. He is a great athlete. He can play in the slot and outside, which in this draft, not a lot of guys can. This is a very small receiver draft, and he is one of the only versatile guys in the whole thing. And it's always good to get Ohio State receivers because they do a lot of the hard work for you. They're the best receiver scouts in college football. Almost all of their receivers are at least decent NFL players. And so he's a guy to keep an eye on when the draft actually rolls around. If they end up with him, I won't be surprised at all.
Calvin, you considering switching careers and going into scouting, I assume now?
No, I have a soft spot for Ohio State wide receivers, and I feel like Emeka Egbuka specifically, I think if he was on any other team than Ohio State this year, his stock would be a lot higher. He had a great college career, but he just happened to be on the same team as the greatest 18-year-old wide receiver to ever play college football.
True.
So he got overshadowed a little bit.
He got overshadowed a lot because he had Jeremiah Smith this year and he had Marvin Harrison the year before. And he did suffer some ill-timed injuries too. So I think his stock's actually a little lower than it should be. He blew the doors off people at the combine. He's a great athlete. So I think he is an underrated guy, and I'd love to have him. He would actually fix quite a few Packer issues. So hopefully that does happen.
My only thing is I just love listening to Calvin talk about football because you talk about like there are things you talk about, but when you talk about football, there's such a deep knowledge you have, Calvin. That's very impressive to watch. Don't shake your head.
That's your thing.
It's called a compliment. Deal with it.
I appreciate the compliment. I just don't want to oversell the depth of my football knowledge.
You are impressing a man who, for a profession, writes sports. So
say thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
There you go.
See, it's a Wisconsin thing. That's like being cheap. No. In the time that we have left, Paul, let's talk a little bit about Bucks with just 3 games left.
Yeah, they're hanging tough in terms of still being able to maybe make the 4th spot. They have to win out and get really lucky. They probably won't. But they've been on kind of a tear, even without Damian Lillard. Mostly carried by Giannis being crazy because, he's Giannis. But also their bench, and especially Kevin Porter Jr. If you go and look at the last few Bucks games, all of the starters are, fickle in the NBA anyway. But this is not an advanced stat, but one of the better stats to see how people are doing is the plus minus. Basically, when you're on the court, you give up more points than your team scores or vice versa. Giannis is the only positive starter for like the last 6 games. And they've been great over those 6 games, but the bench has been phenomenal. And Bobby Portis coming back has been a nice little boost, especially scoring wise. But Kevin Porter Jr. has been like, I think underrated good. He's been like plus 15 or better in a whole bunch of games in a row. And going into the playoffs, usually you kind of want to shorten your bench. I do wonder if the Bucks will do a little bit of shuffling to get actually a little more time for some of the down roster guys, a little bit more than they have. And I do wonder if Brook Lopez starts to see the pine a little bit more. He is definitely getting a little bit slower, a little bit long in the tooth. And that rim protector job he does in the regular season is often exploited by teams that can capitalize on his speed or lack thereof in the postseason. But keep an eye on Porter in particular and see if he's been around. He's not like a rookie, but see if he has a little bit of a breakout here when we start to move into the postseason.
Speaking of the Brewers, we have Brewers action on some of our Civic Media stations starting at 1:30 today. Hopefully the Brewers can do a repeat while they're out in Colorado and smoke them again 70-2. You can catch the game today. You have to listen to terrestrial radio. It's not going to be on the stream. Catch the game starting at 1:35 on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN here in Racine and Kenosha, WCQM in Park Falls, and in Hayward on WBZH. Paul Noonan joins us every other Thursday from the Acme Packing Company. Thanks a lot, Paul. We will see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks all.
Coming up next, we were going to wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Take Me to Your Leader edition. Stay with us. You are listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvi Teeny on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. You can see Greg Bach.
Hi.
Live in person on stage tonight. One show only.
One show only. Featuring for Chappell Lacey at the Milwaukee Improv in Brookfield. Get your tickets. We will put a link in the show notes for it. If you want to come out, that's great. Don't heckle. Be cool. Be fun.
No one who's anyone heckles.
Exactly. Only cool people come and have a good time.
Only losers heckle.
Your words, not mine.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
mean it.
But I would love to see you out there. Please, I mean, if you come out, please introduce yourself. I'd love to
if you
shake
listen
your
to
hand.
this, yeah, for sure.
And it will have a fun time. So yeah, one show, 7 p.m. Get your tickets. Let's have fun.
Get some
comedy.
Laughs. Have some laughs. That's good for you. Coming up on the show tomorrow, it is Friday. That means Dan Schaefer will be here from the recombobulation area. We're going to talk a little bit about this great sale that they're having from the recombobulation area on Monday. You can subscribe for like $30 for the entire year. It's fantastic.
Nice.
And we will be talking, I'm sure, lots more breakdown still about the Susan Crawford, Brad Schimmel race.
Oh, yeah.
Little more in-depth stuff that we will be kicking around with Dan Schaefer tomorrow. Right now, though, it is 11:53, Calvin. That means it's time for...
This shouldn't be a thing.
As always, if you have a thing you think should not be, send it in to Greg and me at Jane Says at civicmedia.us. JANESAYS, Jane Says at civicmedia.us. This is from Vice. Sammy Caramella with the byline. Headline reads, a bizarre half alien, half mermaid appeared on a UK beach. On the sandy beach of Margate, Kent, a coastal town in England, beachgoers noticed a freaky figure. Paula Regan said, for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what it was. It was the weirdest thing. It looks like an alien mermaid carved out of wood.
It does. It looks like some sort of weird art project, but
like a mashup between a fish and then there's a alien creepy head on it.
Yeah, exactly.
The mysterious figure appears to have an ET-looking head, a skeleton-like body, and a scaled mermaid-appearing tail. It was also sticking partially out of the sand in a seemingly threatening manner. It's not moving.
First of all, it does not have an ET-like head. Let's just get that done right there. It also looks like it's wasted away. Like it's, like
it was bigger at one time.
It's shriveled. And it looks like it's crawling for help. Now I'm getting sad, okay? Sad about the half alien, half mermaid.
Regan, who found it, said, at first I thought it was a piece of driftwood.
Yeah.
Or maybe a dead seal, because I could see these weird, funny tail fin things. The head looked skeletal, but at the back, the fishtail was soft and squishy. It didn't feel slimy or decomposed, but it was definitely strange.
Yeah.
The beach was pretty much empty, but eventually a ton of beachgoers noticed all the commotion and gathered around it. Even these people, after a while, no one could figure out what it was. Somebody thought it might have fallen off a boat. Others suggested it could be a figurehead from an old ship. That would be one of the ugliest things to put on your ship as a figurehead.
That would just fuel the idea. That would just, and I asked how to get this clip ready. That would just fuel the idea that aliens were actually pirates. There it is.
Regan says some thought it, again, was a figurehead from a ship, like a carved mermaid. I just knew that no one would believe us if we didn't take a picture. And that's where it ends. I looked for any follow-up on this. Are you telling me nobody picked this thing up and took it, I don't know, to a scientist somewhere and said, what is this thing made out of?
At the very least, walk up to it. I mean, it's obviously not alive, as we know.
That's exactly. Until you put water on it.
I would knock on it to see if it can feel like knock on it if it's wood.
Right.
Also, a mermaid from a ship, that just seems weird. That's, like you said, the ugliest mermaid on earth. Like,
no one's going to put this on your ship.
It's very, very odd. But yeah, it's It's very hard not to look at, but it's also just horrifying.
It's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
But again, I think someone carved this thing and left it there hoping something like this would happen.
What I really enjoy about the picture is that there's just disturbing image in the background. Just a dog doing its thing, living its life.
Sniffing things.
Yep, it's not sniffing the alien. It's like that. It's a piece of driftwood.
Not bothered. That wraps up today's episode of
This Shouldn't Be a Thing.
Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and all of our engineers. Without you, nothing works. And thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening. It means the world. I hope you find some joy today and you have the chance to share it. Keep it right here. News is coming up next on the Civic Media Radio Network. We will see you tomorrow.